All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. You guys are great. That's all I can say. The group of people that regularly come through here, man, you guys are smart. You're knowledgeable. Just a great group of people. I couldn't be happier. In this video here, I kind of alluded to it to a couple people in the comments. That I was going to do one kind of about the 20th century and the 21st century. And people can say whatever they want about how the modern era is more skillful and, oh yeah, the older era, people move like statues and because of evolution. It's nonsense, but whatever. With all that stuff, either way you sit on the argument there, irrelevant to what I'm about to say. So, regardless of what you think is a better brand of basketball, although personally I think the ratings just tells you the story right off. But when the players are not on the court, then who cares? They're not on the court. So how good is it when these guys are always getting hurt all the time? And it seems like a lot of these injuries are ticky-tack. Magically, everybody's good for the playoffs all of a sudden. Man, it's a miracle. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny. But in this video here, I took the top 75 players. Okay, there's actually 76 on the list, but whatever. And I broke it into centuries. So there was 54 of the top 75 players are from the 20th century, and 22 are the 21st century. So I just simply broke it up like that. So that includes guys going back 25 years. This isn't just, the last 5-10 years. This goes all the way back to 2000. So what's funny is you can just see how the players in the 20th century would play banged up, play hurt. There's no load managing. No matter what Gilbert Arenas says, if a player wants to play in a game and management goes to him and says, "Oh, well, it's a back-to-back, we think we'd feel better if you sat out this game." If you went and said, "Coach, there's no way I'm missing this game. No matter what, I'm playing." You're going to play. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. If you want to play, you're going to play. I guarantee it. But these guys are babies, a bunch of bitches, what they are. I mean, they don't feel any obligation to the city, to the fans. They don't care. And they're the ones making them filthy rich, wealthy. These guys are wealthy. The 20th century players, unless you were a mega superstar, yeah, you were rich, but you weren't wealthy. Unless you were like, Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, based on the economy of that time. But, these guys have generational wealth they're getting, just tens of millions, in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars to play basketball. And what do? I'm going to play 65 games this year, whatever. It's a joke. So again, I don't care where you sit on, if you like the rules, you like all the three-pointers, the fact that the offensive player can get away with anything he wants, whether it's offensive foul, traveling, whatever he wants, basically. Set an illegal screen. They don't call violations anymore, so you can do whatever you want. It's horrible. I don't even know why they still dribble. I would just outlaw dribbling. That would just take away the whole ridiculousness of the whole thing. Just don't have dribbling. Just do whatever you want. Just, run down the court. It's just, that's about where we're at right now with this whole, not the lack of violations being called. It's just not basketball anymore. But anyway, so, like I said, I broke it into 20th and 21st century. In the 20th century, 54 players, 21st century, 22 players. Okay. So how many of the top 75 players played 80 or more games, or the equivalent of? I did the math on the old players, or the equivalent of 80 games or more in a season. 10 times or more. So 10 seasons played 80 games or more. There was 12 players out of the 54 from the 20th century, 22.22%. So just under a quarter. The 21st century, those 22 players, one guy, Jason Kidd. That's it. Only Jason Kidd. And they're coming in at 4.5%. What a joke. So they're about 5 times higher for playing 80 plus games or more, 10 times or more, 20th century. Now, how about the amount of players who played 90% or more of the possible games they could have played in their career? And I'll give you an example. The very first guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played 1,560 games. Now, he could have played a total of 1,640. That's how many games he could have played. The Milwaukee or the Lakers or whatever, that's just what it looks like. It was 20 seasons of 82 games. 1,640. He played 1,560, which comes to 95.1%. So obviously, that's really high. That's going to be over 90%. That's just one. I didn't do the playoffs only because magically all these divas today, all of a sudden, they're good to go for the playoffs though. Can't do a back-to-back. You know what I mean? Or if it's a third game in 4 days, I can't do that either. You know what I'm saying? But all of a sudden, magically, the playoffs, they're healthy. It's a miracle. So 90% of the possible games in their career. 20th century, 29 of the 54 players played 90% or more of the possible games they could have played for a 53.7% clip. 21st century, 5 players out of 22. 5. 4, 22.7%. So the 20th century, that's about 2.5 times higher than what the 21st century does. And sure, they don't give a shit. They're just like, well, I'm getting paid either way. I got a guaranteed contract. What do they care, right? They have no sense of obligation that I got to be out there and give it my all. They don't have this, I'm not going to miss any games. If my team's playing, I got to be there. I got to play no matter what. No, they don't care. They'll be over there chilling, on their phones, in their street clothes. I mean, what a joke. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it is pathetic. It was a badge of honor, in the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, I'm sure, same thing. That if you were, if you didn't play, it was almost like, damn, what's wrong with him tonight? Not playing, that was like unheard of. Unless a guy was like actually seriously injured and on the sideline and everybody knew about it. It's like, oh, damn, he got hurt, whatever. But a ticky-tack, bang-up injury didn't happen very often. It just didn't. These guys didn't roll like that. They felt like they're letting their team down, their teammates. Above all else, the guys that you go to battle with, you don't want to let them down. These guys today, they don't give a damn about that. They'll let you down all day. They don't care. It's all about me, protecting my brand. They love what comes with being an NBA player, but they don't like to be an NBA player, if that makes sense. They like the idea of being one, but they're just not one. You know what I mean? They're just the guy that plays in the NBA. That's all it is. They got aspirations. You know what I'm saying? Like, just all the players, they would have like the local endorsements, like for the local car dealership or, maybe like a restaurant or something. They would get a lot of local endorsements. And sure, the bigger guys would get national endorsements, even worldwide, big corporations. Sure, absolutely. These guys today, they got podcasts. They got all kinds of stuff. I mean, what a damn joke. It is just unbelievable why anyone would think that today's NBA is better than the NBA of the 20th century. It is a laugher. Even Even the basketball of like the 2000s. Why do you think the ratings suck? This is why. Nobody wants to watch a bunch of overpaid, spoiled bitches, you know what I'm saying, that can't even show up to work, every day like all of us do. You don't think I love to just say, you know what, I worked, 3 weeks straight this week. I'm going to need a day, guys. Oh, yeah, they do it. And I understand even this generation is all about that kind of stuff, but whatever. I'm not going to get into that. Okay. So the number of players who played 85% of their possible games in their career. I'll give you another example. Okay. Rick Barry. Rick Barry played 1,020 games of the possible 1,147 games for a percentage of 88.9. Now, I'll give you a 21st century guy. All right. How about Chris Paul? Chris Paul played 1,200. I didn't count 2025, by the way. It's not a complete season. It would have been way too hard to figure out the math of how many games they could have played versus what they did. But anyway, so Chris Paul played 1,272 out of a possible 1,522. So that comes to 83.6%. And by the way, he only had 3 seasons. That guy's played what, like 20 years now? 3 seasons of 80 games or more. That's it. Crazy, right? So in the 20th century, the 54 players of the top 75 that are played the majority of their career in the 20th century, 44 out of 54 played 85% of the possible games they could have played in their career, at least in the regular season. I didn't do the playoffs. Like I said, most everybody has, really good track record there. But 44 of 54 for 81.5%. Awesome. The 21st century, barely half at 54.5%. That's a whole nother 50% higher right there. Yeah, that'd be like right at 82% or 81.75%. So basically 50% higher right there. I mean, that's nuts, man. That is just crazy. And then how many players played under 70% of the possible games played? There was only 3 from the 20th century. Now, you got to remember, Bill Walton is going to be in that group. And, that guy, Bill Walton, he played 468 out of a possible 994 games for a 47.1%. He's the lowest top 75 player. And this is just the top 75 players. I mean, if we were to look at the stars today, oh, man, it's way worse. Like a Luka Doncic, or a Kyrie Irving, or some of these other guys. I mean, yeah, they miss games like freaking crazy, Like, what a joke. But anyway, the 3 players were Bill Walton, was 47.1%. The other ones were, well, damn, where are they? Wait a minute. Damn, now that I'm seeing it, maybe that is the only one. The 21st century had... Oh, no, I think that's supposed... I'm sorry, 80%. Damn it, I'm sorry about that. What an idiot. 80%. How many had under 80%? It was Bill Walton, that's 1. It was Tiny Archibald, that's 2. And Walt Frazier was the 3rd. It was those 3 guys. Walt Frazier, Tiny Archibald, and Bill Walton. And those guys, had legitimate injuries, like, pretty famous what their injuries were. And then the 2 in the 21st century, you're not going to be surprised at all. It's Anthony Davis and it's Kawhi Leonard. They're the modern day Bill Walton, basically. But, yeah, it was 80%. Damn it. Sorry about that. So, yeah, only 3 out of 54 players. And here, you got 2 out of 22. 5.55% for the 20th century, 9.1, almost double for the 21st century. So, again, people this load managing thing, it's just another factor why people hate the modern NBA. It just is. It's a joke. It's so avoidable. That's the one things the players could actually control and help the situation out. If they all decided, you know what, no more of this missing game stuff. We're going to play just like the players of the past did. I don't want to hear about, the game has just moved so much faster. You got to have range of motion and all this stuff. Now, the guys are only playing like 30, 35 minutes a game. They're not playing 40, 42 minutes like guys were back in the day. They're playing less minutes, less games, and still getting hurt all the time. What are they doing wrong? I mean, they're doing something wrong, that's for sure. So I wrote down some of the 21st century players. The number of seasons of 80 or more games, right? Now you think that some of these guys, would have a little more pride than that and want to try to play. Like LeBron this year said, I'm going to try to play all 82 games. That didn't even last a quarter of the season. Of course not. He's just always chasing Jordan. That's all his life is, chase Jordan. Well, Carmelo Anthony. Now this dude, he played 1,260 games. Carmelo Anthony did. I think he played 19 seasons. Only 2 did he ever play 80 or more games. I mean, these guys just load manage, from day one? Steph Curry. There's another guy. 2. Only 2. Now, I know he had some legitimate injuries and he was out almost a full season once. I get that. But all these guys always getting hurt. What the hell's going on? Anthony Davis has never played 80 or more games. LeBron James 3 times in 21. Well, now 22. He's already missed 3 games or more. So already out of 22 years, he's only done it 3 times where he played 80 games or more. Joke, right? Kawhi Leonard has never played 80 games in an NBA season. Dwayne Wade never played 80 games in an NBA season. I mean, a bunch of bitches. That's all there is to it. And what's funny is, in the same time frame, these guys here are 21st century players, but you know what the major difference is? Every one of these guys started their careers in the 90s. A whole different kind of mentality. They were influenced by the players of the 90s. You know what I'm saying? That's what that was what was handed down to them. You don't sit out games. You play every game and you play it hard. And that's why Ray Allen has 7. Kobe, 7. Duncan, 7. Kevin Garnett, 8. Jason Kidd, 11. Paul Pierce, 7. Dirk Nowitzki, 7. None of these fools have anything like that. I think the only one who had anything like that, who was not somebody who started their careers in the 90s, was Russell Westbrook. He had 8 of them. Russell Westbrook had 8 of them. And Russell Westbrook has played 91.1% of his possible games played. That's really good, though. I'm actually was very surprised by that. The most on the list was Dirk Nowitzki, was Paul Pierce, 92.4, Jason Kidd, 92.1, Tim Duncan, 92.2, and Jason Kidd, 92.1 for the 21st century. The 20th century, the guys that are the Iron Men of, at least for top 75 players. And this was a criteria I used when I was doing my rankings. Absolutely. If you're not on the court, you lose value. If you're not there, what good are you? You're doing no good. But anyway, that was the criteria I used. And I did hold it a little bit against people if they had a bad attendance record. The 95 percenters or more, there's actually several of them. Kareem is 95.1, Paul Arizin 96.1, Bob Cousy 96.4, John Havlicek 97.5, Elvin Hayes, who I think is the Iron Man of NBA history, 99.3% of possible games. He played 1,303 games out of 1,312. He basically missed 9 games for his whole career. That's insane. These dudes will miss 9 games before the All-Star break. What a joke. I mean, what can you say? Karl Malone, 96.7%. George Mikan, 99.3%. I know he only played about 5 or 6 seasons, but still. Reggie Miller, 96.2%. 12 times this dude played 80 games or more. Karl Malone, 17 times played 80 games or more. Elvin Hayes, 16 times played 80 games or more. Wilt Chamberlain was pretty high too. Say what you want about Wilt, but 92.7%. 11 times he played 80 games or more, or the equivalent of. Kareem, 11 times. Robert Parrish, 9 times played 80 games or more. 95.7% of possible games played, he played. Gary Payton, 98%. This dude played 1,335 out of a possible 1,362 games. He only missed 27 games in his whole career, 14 times, 80 games or more. What can you say? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just night and freaking day. Dolph Shays, 10 times, 80 games or more. John Stockton, 98.6%. The dude missed 22 games ever in his whole career. 17 times he played 80 games or more. And I think that him and Karl Malone both, I think that's the highest. And that might even be an NBA record. Pretty sure about that. I'd have to double check it. But anyway, you get the picture. I mean, these guys were Iron Men. They had too much pride. It's just a different sport now. It's unfortunate. But, this has a lot. This ties right into why people don't like today's NBA. This is a big reason for it. So, it is what it is. Like I said, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, those guys in the 20th century, they could have said, oh, man, my ankle, I don't think I can go tonight. You can easily get out of not playing. You know what I mean? Easily get out of playing in the game. No doubt about it. But they just wouldn't do that. It was a whole different mentality. You were looked down upon if you're over there missing game. Like every 12th game you're just missing. It'd be like, what's up with that? But anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. It'd be doing me a solid. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And that's it. Until next time.